Welcome! It's such a wonderful day today. We had a whole week of sunshine in Denmark, which is kind of unusual here, but it's really good and it's very warm in the 30s Celsius. So I moved outside for this video. A lot of you have asked me what I do to seal and polish the low-fired pottery that I do, especially the pitfired pottery. And so what do I do to seal it, to make it waterproof? What do you do to polish it, to make the surface workable? And is it possible to make it food safe? So in this video I'm going to show you what I do. Not that it's the perfect way or the only way. There's probably other potters that use other materials, but at least you can see what I do and it works for me. So I want to share that with you. So let's move on with that. When I started out some years ago with Pitfire, I wanted something to kind of treat the surface and highlight the colors. That was my first goal, because if you've ever done Pitfire and you take it out of the pit and you brush off the ashes, it's a little matte. It doesn't have that shine you want, or maybe you want. So I was looking for a good product for that. And I talked to some people who worked a lot in Japan, and they recommended something called Mink Oil, this one, and I like it a lot. It's a very soft, it's not an oil, it is, this one is closed. Anyway, it's not an oil, it is a wax, and now it gets there. It is a wax, but it's very soft, so you don't need to heat it up or anything. You basically just apply it to the pot, and then you brush it or you polish it off, and it gives it this really nice. It's not super shiny, it's more like silky. This is one of the early pots that I did, and of course you can't feel it, but I promise you it feels really good, and it has this silky sort of touch to it that I really like. It's between matte and shiny. And it feels good and it smells good. Not now, of course, it's a long time since I did it, but when you work with it. So in many ways it's really nice. It can be a little bit difficult to get this mink oil. I was lucky enough to acquire a couple of these boxes. They're out now, but if you search for mink oil, you can find it. This is only to treat the surface. It helps not, you know, if you leave the pot raw, then when you touch it and stuff, can get finger marks, and also with the wax you can wipe it over with a wet sponge or something. Then so it's a good way to preserve the quality of your pot. But then I moved on to trying to seal things inside, because this is a surface treatment and it's nice, but I also wanted to make it waterproof. So the first thing that I came around is this. This is from a local supplier, but you can also get it with Rakuvaria in Holland. If you search for Rakuvaria, they sell it, a sealant. And it kind of serves two purposes, because it is a sealant, so you can put it inside and leave it there a couple of seconds, throw it out, or put it back in the bottle, of course, and then do the second sealant, and it should seal it. But you can also put it on the outside. That's what I did with this one. So instead of using the wax, I used it to kind of polish the outside, and it's a little more shiny. I'm not actually sure what it's made of. It doesn't say much, but I think it's sort of an acrylic fluid, and it does give it a very nice surface, and it's very easy to apply. You don't need to polish it. You just apply it and wipe off any drips or anything, and that's it. But as a sealant, it's not perfect. It doesn't make it completely waterproof. So with a pot like this, if you only use this sealant, it will still be a little bit damp. It's not like the water is running out of it, it's just a little bit damp. And so you can't put it on a very fine dining table in wood or something. If it's stone or something that can sustain the humidity, it's okay, but it does limit the use of it. a little bit. And also there's a risk for certain kind of pots that the water from the inside, if it's there too long, kind of go through the pot and can influence the surface. So it's not a perfect sealant. I still use it for some things. But then I was looking and I was trying out all kinds of cement sealers and wall and different kind of sealants that they use in the industry. And I was actually looking for something different. They were sold out, so they suggested that I buy this one. It's in Danish called a multi-binder. Again, I have actually no idea what it is. It smells and feels very much like the Rakuvaria Sealant, but it's not, because this one turned out to be magic. The way that I apply it is that I put it into the pot, shake it around a little bit, and I put it back into the bottle. Then I leave it for the next day, and I give it a second layer and put it back, and then let it dry for at least 24 hours. I did some test with this after I first got it. This one is made with it, and this one is made with it on the inside. And this is quite a big vase, so I think there's probably, I don't know, 3-4 liters of water if you fill it up, which I did. I filled it up with water, and I put it on a napkin, just to make sure that I could see any traces of even the slightest amount of humid water coming out. And I left it there for 2 weeks. There was nothing at all. It was completely waterproof. So it's very effective. And this, because you don't buy it in a pottery store, it's very, very cheap. I paid less than $10 for this liter. And it's even cheaper if you buy 2 or 3 liters. But this has lasted a long time for me. So this is super cheap, and it's very, very effective. So if you want something sealed, this is good. This is also good for Raku, because you have the same problem with Raku. For example, if you take a pot like this, this is like a naked Raku pot. It's not completely waterproof. You will have the same problem that if you put water in it, it will be a little bit damp on the lower side, and it could kind of damage the surface, I found with some pots. So for this one, I also applied this multi-binder. I'm actually not sure what it's called. This is from a company called Lip. I don't know if it's just only exists here in Denmark, and if they have using the same name. But if you go to a builder's market and ask for concrete sealant, you will find something like this. The problem with this is that it's not food safe. It's not made for food. It's made for concrete. So if you're looking for something that can be used to make food safe pottery, then you need something completely different. And now I know some people will say, well, pit-fired pottery is never going to be food safe. But that's not completely true. Because the problem with pit-fire is 2 things. First of all, it's porous. So you don't have this layer of glaze that kind of protects the food or the food from the pot. It's a porous construction, the ceramics. That means that the food can soak into the ceramic, and also means that the materials in the pottery can soak into the food. And there's little porous cracks in there, food and bacteria can hide and it can develop, and that's not good. So I was looking a long time for something that could make it food safe, because I also make bowls. I can show you one here that I did, and they're so nice. I'm not afraid to use them with oranges or banana and stuff that have peels on it, but I also wanted to be able to serve a salad or some other foods that are not protected by peel. Finally, I found something an Australian company is making. It's called liquid quartz. I put it over in this bottle. It comes in a big, I bought 5 liters of it because it's quite expensive, and then shipping from Australia and import taxes and all that shit. So it's very expensive to say. It's the most expensive fluid I have here. I think I paid with import taxes and transport and everything about 1,000 kroner per liter. 1,000 kroner, what is that, $150 or something for 1 liter. It's quite expensive. But it lasts a long time. So if you divide it by pot, it's maybe only $2-3 per pot, and I'm thinking that's okay. So I only did very few tests with this, but it works. And how does it work? Well, This is a nanoparticle quartz product. So quartz in itself is not dangerous. But these very, very fine quartz particles, what they do is they absorb into the porous structure of the clay, and they close the holes. So now you have a surface that is completely waterproof. You can dip it in water, oil, wine, whatever, it just peels off. And because all these little pores are closed, there's nowhere for bacteria or food or anything to hide and develop dangerous things. So it is food safe. It is also actually approved in Australia, and that approval is approved in the EU and the European countries for food. In Australia, they've been selling it to restaurants. They make plates and dinnerware using Pitfire and using the liquid quartz. And they've been selling it since 2014. And they even, I just heard recently, they even put it in a dishwasher. It was kind of surprising to me, but it works for them. And so it works. And they didn't seal it. It lasts a long, long time. It doesn't do anything to the surface except it closes it off. So for a pot like this, where I used all kinds of chemicals, this is of course not dinnerware, but if it was, I would still have a problem, because it's not putting a layer on top, it's just sealing the porosity of the clay. If you're using dangerous chemicals, cobalt, whatever, copper, something that you don't want in your food, then this is not going to do anything. You still need some other sealant for that, you need glaze for that. But if you only use organic materials, which I do a lot, then it will create food-safe products. As I said, I bought a lot of it because it was too expensive just to buy a little bit. So I bought a lot of it, and I made these half-liter bottles. And so if you're in Denmark and you want to buy half a liter from me, I will share it with good friends and colleagues. So that's available. If we take a look at, I did some pots here, or some mugs. These are actually normal stoneware, and they're glazed on the inside with my favorite folk art gilt. But on the outside they're not glazed. So I thought, well, let's try it on this. So I mean, this is just a good demonstration. If you take a look here, and you see this is just plain water, and the way it just runs off. And this is unglazed ceramics. It wouldn't do like that normally. Let me see if you can get a better view here. It's just funny to see how. The last thing I want to mention is a different wax that I also use, because this mink oil, as I said, it's very silky. I like it. But if you want it a little bit more shiny, then this one, it's called Renaissance wax, microcrystalline wax polish. It's a little more stiff than hard than the mink oil, but you still don't need to heat it up, and you can apply it. I used it on this one, and I don't know if you can see it here, but it does leave it a little more shiny, and I kind of like that for certain pots. I also use one other thing. I didn't bring it here today because I just ran out, but some pots I also just give an acrylic spray. It makes it a little more shiny. It can sometimes look a little bit acrylic, I guess, but it's cheap, it's easy to apply the spray, and it works. It does the job, and it makes it fingerprint proof, so to speak. Of course, it's not food safe or anything, but that's the last option. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different kinds of sealant and surface treatments. That was it. I hope that this inspires you, and that you got some ideas for how to seal and polish your own pots. If you like this and the other videos that I do, then I hope you will subscribe, like, share, whatever. And if you have a comment, some experiences, maybe some other products that you want to share, please put a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Have a good day.